Welcome back to another episode of the Ontario Mortgage and Real Estate Insights podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hamoen. Today, we're diving into some critical updates that are shaping the real estate landscape here in Ontario and across Canada. From the increasing reliance on gifted down payments by first-time homebuyers to the surge in own-use evictions, we've got a lot to cover. So, let's get started. Mortgage down payment gifts from family members remain a crucial factor for first-time home buyers in Canada, even as the housing market cools and economic conditions tighten. According to a recent study by Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, 31% of first-time buyers received family help for their down payment, a significant increase from 20% in 2015. Despite a cooling housing market post-COVID, the average gift amount has risen to $115,000, up 73% since 2019. This highlights the ongoing critical role of family wealth in home purchasing, which is helping mitigate housing inflation, but is also widening the wealth gap, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce notes. For those upgrading to larger homes, known as mover-uppers, 12% received gifts, with an average amount of $167,000 according to the study. The correlation between gift amounts and home prices remains strong, with gifts continuing to increase even as home prices have fallen 14% from their COVID-era peak. This increase in gift sizes is likely facilitated by parents downsizing and benefiting from high home prices when selling their primary residences, according to the report. In Ontario and British Columbia, where housing affordability is particularly stretched, 36% of first-time homebuyers received gifts, compared to the national average of 31%. The average gift amount in British Columbia is $204,000, while in Ontario, it's $128,000. Since 2019, gift amounts have increased by 90% in British Columbia and 52% in Ontario, reflecting the high cost of home ownership in these regions. Interestingly, mover-uppers in Ontario and British Columbia are not more likely than the national average to receive gifts, but the amounts they receive are higher. In Ontario, the average gift is $189,000, and in British Columbia, it is $230,000, compared to the national average of $167,000. This phenomenon helps mitigate the impact of housing inflation for buyers, but also contributes to the widening wealth gap in Canada. As home prices remain high, the trend of relying on family gifts for down payments is likely to continue, highlighting the ongoing challenges of housing affordability in Canada. Another pressing issue in Ontario's housing market is the surge in own-use evictions. According to recent data, landlord applications for own-use evictions have skyrocketed by 85% since 2020, rising from 3,445 applications that year to 6,076 in 2023. This significant increase is causing many tenants to fight back, often resorting to legal measures to contest their evictions. Take the case of Chris Kostov and Sherry Keys, two tenants in a low-rise building in East York, Toronto. Both received eviction notices from their landlord, who claims he needs the units for family members. Kostov, a retired electrician, has lived in his studio unit for nearly 20 years and pays well below the market rent. He believes the eviction notice is a tactic to raise the rent, which he cannot afford on his pension. Similarly, Keys, who lives with her daughter and granddaughter, says giving up her apartment would likely mean leaving Toronto or facing homelessness. Their landlord, Sofiane Bousselmi, has filed N12 eviction applications with Ontario's Landlord and Tenant Board, claiming he needs the units for his daughter and parents. Both Kostov and Keys have hired lawyers to contest the evictions, arguing that the landlord's claims are not genuine. In an email to CBC, Bousselmi denied acting in bad faith, insisting that he does need the units for his family. Rents across Canada have surged by 22% over the past 2 years, making it increasingly difficult for tenants to find affordable housing. According to data from rentals.ca, the national average rent for a one-bedroom apartment is now $1,929. This rental increase is prompting more tenants to fight eviction notices, knowing that finding a new, affordable place to live is nearly impossible. The increase in own-use evictions is not just confined to Ontario. The British Columbia government has recently launched an online portal aimed at combating bad faith evictions, where landlords falsely claim they need the units for personal use. This move reflects the growing concern over housing affordability and tenant rights across the country. The battle for Kostov and Keys continues. Kostov's next hearing at the Landlord and Tenant Board is scheduled for early August. Keys, however, has had a small victory. The board recently ruled that her landlord had acted in bad faith, allowing her to stay in her unit for now. Despite this win, Keys remains anxious about the future, fearing that her family could still face homelessness if they are forced to move. Experts suggest that the rise in own-use evictions is partly driven by higher interest rates, which are making it financially challenging for landlords to maintain rental properties. Some landlords are choosing to sell their properties or move family members in to offset these rising costs. Rose Marie, vice chair of the landlord advocacy group Small Ownership Landlords of Ontario, argues that higher interest rates are putting landlords in a tough spot financially. She points out that landlords cannot simply pass on these increased costs to tenants due to rent control regulations. However, tenant advocates like Carly Wilson, a housing lawyer at Don Valley Community Legal Services in Toronto, argue that many landlords are using own-use evictions as a loophole to bypass rent control and charge higher rents to new tenants. Wilson advises tenants to contest these evictions, especially if they have lived in their units for a long time, as they are more likely to be targeted. In Ontario, rent controls are enforced only when a tenant is living in the unit. Once the unit is vacant, landlords can charge whatever they want, making it financially advantageous for them to evict long-term tenants. This creates a precarious situation for many renters who find themselves clinging to their homes, even if the conditions are less than ideal. The rising mortgage rates are also a factor. Small landlords in particular are feeling the pinch. Jessica Huang, a single mother and landlord, participated in a protest at Queen's Park in Toronto, expressing her financial hardship due to rising mortgage rates. Huang explained that she needs to move back into her rental property, but cannot evict her tenant, causing her significant stress and financial strain. The situation is a complex one, with valid arguments on both sides. Landlords are struggling with rising costs, while tenants are fighting to stay in their homes amid soaring rents and limited affordable housing options. As the housing crisis continues, both sides are likely to see more legal battles and increased tension. In our final segment today, we have a fascinating piece of real estate news that combines luxury living with a touch of royal history. A gorgeous cottage owned by a relative of Princess Diana has just hit the market here in Ontario. Yes, you heard that right. This stunning property is not in the United Kingdom, but right here in Canada. The cottage is more of a designer vacation home than a simple cabin in the woods. It boasts 3 + 2 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, and is priced at an eye-watering $10.5 million. Located on the esteemed Lake Rousseau in Port Carling, the property offers 4,270 square feet of living space, high-end features, and breathtaking waterfront views. The cottage belongs to Charles Spencer, the 9th Earl Spencer and brother of Princess Diana. He has owned the property with his Canadian wife, who is soon to be his ex-wife, for the past 4 years. This 2018 build is impeccable in every aspect. It features large paned windows that offer stunning views of the lake and landscape, a harmonious blend of rustic and modern interiors, extensive deck space, and luxurious amenities galore. One of the standout features of this property is its large boathouse. The boathouse includes built-in docking space for 2 watercraft and additional living quarters above, complete with sleeping arrangements and a bathroom. There's also a covered porch and a lakeside fire pit, making it perfect for those who love outdoor living. The listing also mentions an option to purchase an adjoining 1,000 feet of lakefront and over 20 acres of property on Silver Lake. Together, these could form a perfect estate-sized property with 2 lakefronts, acres for trails, guest cottages, cabins, docks, and more. The opportunities for expansion and customization are endless. With all its facilities, space, and a price tag that reflects its prominence, this property at 3164 Muskoka Road is likely to attract buyers of equal stature and wealth as Earl Spencer. Whether it is the luxurious amenities, the stunning views, or the touch of royal history, this cottage is a rare gem in Ontario's real estate market. And that wraps up today's episode of the Ontario Mortgage and Real Estate Insights podcast. I hope you found these updates as intriguing as I did. We'll be back soon with more insights and news to keep you informed about the ever-changing real estate landscape in Ontario and beyond. I'm your host, Steve Hamoan. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.